Hi, everybody. It's been some time since I've come on. I'm having kind of day that I felt called to share a little message with it being December, and as a lot of people tend to make this a more stressful time than it really needs to be, I thought I'd give a little reminder about some other ways we could be. So we're in the winter months, and I usually love to remind my patients that when we're in what's called the water season or the winter, we're really meant to be slowing down and going inward. And I just happen to notice most people tend to talk about how stressful and busy this time is, which is pretty opposite of the nature of this moment. And when I say the nature, I mean literally. If you look outside and you see the trees, they're all bare, they're a little bit more raw. Because of that, the tree is really, the focus is on the roots and expanding the roots, below the ground, what we cannot see. And I really believe that that's a big part of what we're meant to be doing in the winters. We're really meant to slow down, reflect, and kind of get back to basics. That seems to be a phrase I'm using a lot with my patients and friends, and the idea of that, this is a moment of just, remember, we need good sleep as humans. We need to be out in nature. We need the sunlight. We need to see each other. We need to eat, healthy foods. And with that, we also need to abstain from some things that might otherwise overstimulate our systems or overtax our systems. So, overdoing it with alcohol or other substances, sugar, dairy, things that can overwhelm our systems more easily. So that's the practical part. But the thing I really wanted to talk to you about is a little practice that I've had for many years now, and it really has led to some of the most richest moments in my life. And that's the idea of handing my life over and allowing myself to be guided. And I particularly find this time of year to be a richer time when I allow myself to really be guided. So I just wanted to give a little example and ask you all to consider the idea of embracing this as a part of your life in a more pronounced way, but particularly at this time of year and particularly with your kids. And that, when I say that, I'll give you an example. So last night as I was going to bed, I'm not seeing patients today. I have a new schedule, and so Tuesdays I'm actually off now, at least from seeing patients. And when I was going to sleep, I sort of said a prayer, and I said, I want to wake up and I would love to just allow myself to be guided through the day. However I'm meant to be, however I'm meant to serve, whatever I'm meant to experience, allow me to be guided. And I woke up, and I had immediately, right as I woke up, there was a text that came through from my mom who wanted to drop off soup, a soup that she's made for many, many years and is super good. So she proceeded to come over, and we had breakfast together, and we just had a really, really nice time, and we talked about many, many things, and before we know it, many hours had passed. And she had to get going, and I had things I needed to do, and I had looked outside. I was like, wow, I got to make sure I get outside. So I apply the rules, guide me wherever I'm going to go. I had in mind I wanted to go to this particular store, but how I got to the store, it's just local here in Montclair where I live. I was going to be walking there, but there's many different pathways there. So I said, allow me to just guide me the path you'd like me to go. And as I'm walking, I, went down this particular street, and as I was sitting there, I saw this man sitting on the bench, and I already felt a connection to him without ever, just by looking at him. And as I passed, he said, hey, I'm homeless. Can you spare a couple bucks? And I said, I sure can. And, so we started to talk a little bit, and then I was standing there, is there anything else you need? And he was like, I would really love a soda. And so I went across the street and grabbed him a soda and came back and gave him the rest of the change from the bill I broke getting the soda. And we proceeded to talk for probably another half hour, 40 minutes. And with that, I was reminded of why I allow myself to be guided. That I will never suspect what I would call where the divine exists in my everyday life. I'm a person who can easily be walking around with, headphones in my ears, listening to a podcast or music, and as a result, not completely attuned to the world that's surrounding me, with the people that I'm surrounded by. There's all this energy around me, and I'm not even paying attention to it. I'm kind of going inward. But when I actually take the time to unplug from those things and pay attention to the world around me, what is invited in. And, in our conversation, we were just talking about things going on in the world. And, I had asked him, how long he had been, sort of on the streets. And it was like 3 years now. But it was looking like he was securing a place for the winter, because the winter months obviously get hard in this part of the country. But we had such a good conversation. He shared with me about his grandmother and his great grandmother and their connection to, and they were Native American, and their connection to the earth, and that, that in some ways that him being homeless allows him to feel like he is more connected to the world around him and the earth around him. And I said, I totally understand. I practice Chinese medicine. And he goes, oh yeah, that's been around like 2,000-3,000 years, right? Nothing like this medicine we practice in this country. And I said, that's true. So we proceeded to share our appreciation and passion for natural medicine. And he shared stories of how he helped his mother heal some things using natural remedies. And we went on, and we were going on. And then one of the things we were just talking about with this world, and that he said, I just am reminded that Jesus's biggest messages were forgiveness and love each other. And I said, you're right. You're really right. Can you imagine what this world would look like if we were still actually following that message, if we were embracing that message, and particularly reminded at a time like December, the weeks before the holidays, of that message and the importance of that message. There's many places we can give our money, our time, and our energy, but in your own community is the most important place, whether that's through a business like, buying a gift from a local shop that supports a family, and that family may support other individuals, or be putting kids through college, or maybe, paying for medical bills, or it's walking around and surveilling a little, like what's going on in my community? What does the nature look like in my community? How are people treating each other here? Because that should matter to all of us. But more than that, to make sure that we're checking on those that are alone, that we are sitting on that bench vulnerable, particularly in the cold weather, and that we don't look at them as an outside of society thing, that they are actually a very big part of our community. And it's really up to us to love them. And I left the conversation and I walked away, and I just felt so good. I just felt so grateful that I developed this practice of handing myself over and allowing myself to be guided. I say it often: use me in whatever way you'd like today. Where can I be of service? I'm not always the best at follow through with certain things or this or that, but I can guarantee you that most days of my life now, there's such richness in the intimacy that I get to have with other human beings, whether that's in the treatment room, even sometimes online, believe it or not. And people, a lot of you have messaged me recently, sharing some things that are going on for you, and I appreciate that, and expressing gratitude for me using my voice in the way that I do. And the other thing I just want to remind us all is that I was walking and I saw this cedar tree in this park, and the sun was shining on it, and I said, I just got to sit here and just embrace the energy of this tree. And I'd gone to this crystal shop for these gifts, and I just felt so connected to the elements of true nature. This tree, the rock or metal of the crystals, the fluidity and the water nature of this conversation I had with this person, the wood elements of this tree, the fire that exists between human beings when we allow that intimacy to be there, and then just the earth, which I'm sitting down on right in this moment, and the fact that how much I appreciate earth, and how much I acknowledge on a daily basis how much this earth provides me in my life, how much the medicine I practice, which is very much based on earth's natural cycles, how much it provides for the perspective of not just me, but for the perspective of all the people who come to see me. So I just thought I'd share that today, and I would offer you the opportunity for yourself to look at, do I allow myself to be guided? Do I allow myself any room in my life for the unexpected, for the miraculous, for the intimate, for the vulnerable, for the connection? because that's why we're here, you know? It's the biggest reason, it's the biggest craving of most human beings. And we get very caught up in shopping lists and, you know, getting things done and making money and Q4 results and all of that stuff. And it's starting more and more to feel really silly, all those things. We could exist on this earth without money. Believe it or not, we could exist on this earth without money. And yet our entire society is based upon it. So I offer you that in reflection, in this reflective time of year, to look for yourself. Are you allowing the quiet? Are you allowing the reflection? Are you allowing yourself to be used? Are you allowing yourself to be guided? Even if it's just on a walk, what turn should I make? Maybe don't follow the same way you always go, but say, I'm just going to come, each corner I come to, I'm going to just look around and just feel which way is pulling me. And just be a child in that moment. And keep your eyes up and look around and wonder of what's around you and what's trying to communicate with you all day long. And most of the time, many of us are missing it. So that's my little winter water season reminder for you. I hope you're all well. I hope you're taking good care of yourself. And yeah, enjoy.